key issue 4 deals with changing locations of industry, and the question is, why would an industry move? And as we've seen before, one answer to that is comparative advantage, and the whole idea of comparative advantage is that a person, an individual, as well as a country does what they do relatively best. That's what economists say promotes efficiency and overall world welfare. So we come over here to Mexico and the NAFTA, the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement that was passed in 1994, and we can see that Mexico has both a good site factor and a good situation factor. The site factor is they have low-cost wages. The situation factor is they're next to us, so the transportation costs are a whole lot lower. And for labor-intensive countries, labor-intensive industries like food processing, electronics, and textiles, industry will gravitate to those places that have low wages. On the other side of the equation would be the environmental concerns, and what you have is a lot of concern over air and water pollution. This photo is actually in Bangladesh, but it does show the same low-wage mentality, so that you would do textiles here because it's a labor-intensive industry, and the same thing you would find in China. But now we come back to NAFTA, and we see that Mexico sends more cars to us than we send to them. And the reason for that, this is just a repetition from a graph we had earlier. Look at this. So Mexican wages is somewhere around, what, $7, something like that. The American wages is somewhere around $35, $36. So that's a big differential. And if the Mexican worker can be as productive with the capital equipment as the American worker can be, then from a business standpoint it makes sense for them to move to Mexico because they're going to have more profit for them. And that's the nature of capitalism. So this slide right here shows what's been called the BRIC countries. It's spelled out with Brazil, Russia, India, and China, BRIC, the BRIC countries. And as it says there, it represents 3 billion folks and a fourth of the world's land area, but only a sixth of the world's GDP. But if you look at the trend lines, you know, China's going to be as big as our economy by the 2020s, and India is supposed to be as big as our economy by the 2050s, and so they're catching up. Brazil has had troubles this year, but I suppose that gets more into economics and maybe geography, so we'll just pass. Here we have shifts inside the United States, and one thing you can see from just the dots, you can see that there's many more right-to-work states. And look what has happened to Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. They have lost manufacturing jobs, and California and Texas have gained them in North Carolina. So there's been a shift due to the factors that were discussed in the chapter. The last item in the chapter deals with the Aral Sea, and you can see from 1975 to now, 2014, what an environmental disaster it is. They diverted water from the Amu Darya and the Sir Darya to grow cotton, and cotton is a very expensive plant in terms of its water needs, so it's a little bit interesting that they decided to do that. In any event, they drained so much water, the Aral Sea lost its space, and now, as the book says, so the salt from the salt bed is blowing on the cotton, and you pretty much can't grow anything, and they've lost all the sea life that was in the Aral Sea, and ships are just turned over on the seabed, so it's just a complete environmental disaster. Thanks. Bye.